Julian Assange is seeking asylum in the embassy of Ecuador in London. It's an interesting move. Now, you know the story. He's, of course, the person who runs WikiLeaks. The U.S. administration behind the scenes appears to be targeting him. He's worried that if Great Britain extradites him to Sweden on charges that he sexually assaulted some women, that Sweden is going to bring him over to the U.S. Now, Sweden has done that in the past. In fact, they have been sanctioned by the UN Human Rights Committee for being in violation of the global ban on torture because Sweden turned over 2 people to America back in 2001, and America renditioned them to Egypt, and they were tortured there. So it's not like it hasn't happened before. Assange says this isn't about the sex charges in Sweden. This is about his concern that he would be handed over to a lawless United States of America. Isn't that so sad that we're in a situation where the U.S. is, I think people are rightfully concerned, the U.S. is so lawless that people say, well, I can't go to Sweden because they might be barbaric enough to hand me over to the United States of America. And look, here's why it's largely justified. Even President Obama signed a bill just very recently where he authorizes indefinite detentions. They say, well, sometimes it doesn't apply to U.S. citizens. By the way, that's only sometimes. But Assange is not a U.S. citizen. So could they hold him indefinitely without a trial? Yes. Now, they're accusing Bradley Manning of doing the leaks in the first place. Remember, Assange just received the leaks. That would make him a reporter. That would, by the way, much better journalism than almost anyone else in this country, right? But do you think the Obama administration or any Republican administration here in the U.S. is going to give a damn? You think they're going to call him a reporter? You think they're going to give him a break because of that? I don't think so. Could they hold him indefinitely? They certainly could if Sweden extradites him. So do I think he's right in trying to seek asylum in Ecuador? Yeah, he should do everything within his means to make sure that he's not brought here to the U.S. because apparently we don't follow the rule of law anymore. We don't even follow habeas corpus. That's the whole basis of our Western civilization and rule of law. See, how bad has our country gotten that these guys who say, well, I can't possibly go to the U.S. because they're such lawbreakers, have a pretty good point. Now, of course, the highest court in the UK ruled that Assange would have to be extradited to Sweden. Let me also remind everybody that he has actually not been charged in Sweden. They are investigating, and the police would like to talk to Julian Assange about those sex charges. Now, the actual charges themselves, nobody knows if they're right or wrong. I find it to be a wild coincidence that they came at the same exact time that there was the massive WikiLeaks revelations about the U.S. and other governments all across the world. What a wild, wild coincidence. So is Assange concerned? Right to be concerned that this might be political? I would be concerned. So now why Ecuador? Well, in 2010, a top official from that country had said that they would offer Assange residency, and he might be taking them up on it. Now, they vacillated a little bit, but he's also talked to the president of Ecuador, Rafael Correa, on his own program on RT, and the president is left-wing. He seems more sympathetic to Assange's point of view. Now, the U.S. wants a military base in Ecuador, and I love what the president said there. No problem. I'll give you a military base in Ecuador the minute you give me a military base in the U.S. To which, of course, America said, oh, get. Of course, we're right. No. We put military bases on your land. You don't put it on our land. So he said, well, I guess we have no deal. So you shouldn't be surprised that Assange is seeking asylum in Ecuador. I think they should give it to him. And I'm afraid that Sweden will do it again, that they'll hand over people to the United States. And the United States, unfortunately, has gotten to a point where we don't follow the rule of law. And I would be afraid for what would happen to Assange. And one last note on that. Again, Bradley Manning, they kept him for nearly a year in isolation. What the UN declared inhumane and degrading treatment, that was before he was even charged. Then he got charged. He still hasn't been convicted, and he's been held in, he was held in terrible conditions before, stripped naked at night, etc. Finally, they move him to a regular prison now that they've charged him. Wow, are they not merciful? I'm not sure I'd want to be, especially if I'm not a U.S. citizen, even though Bradley Manning is, would I want to be tried under that system? Well, I would certainly have my reservations.